Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's Cust Corner, it's Cust Corner. Cust Corner, hee 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 hee.
That's not what people are calling it at all.
That is.
Anymore,
That's actually how they find it. Except for the trolls. I mean, you don't need to bring it up every single time. Geoff Fienberg is in studio as well.
I'm excited for today. Tim has been bursting at the seams to get a recording in. It has been a while. The world has been a bit different, so I imagine his takes are more insane.
I don't even want to talk about that serious stuff anymore. We did a show on the serious stuff. Let's talk about the Tim stuff.
No, but yeah, I just mean like his whole. He's been home more. I bet you the takes are phenomenal.
Well, home more, inside exactly the same, I would guess. As a noted indoorsman, that's what we can do. So, Tim, the floor is yours. What would you like to talk about today?
I have several topics. The first one I want to bring up, and I to lay our cards on the table, I gave these boys warning that I wanted to talk about a particular show, but nothing else. So the History Channel has this television show called Alone. I think it's in its 6th or 7th season now. I've watched a couple seasons, not everyone. The essential conceit of the show is that they drop people off in the northern territories of Canada, and they got to make it on their own with basically minimal supplies given. I think they get a tarp, one or two other things on that. You sort of have to make it. And this year is a special year where the winner of this contest gets $1 million. And what you have to do is you simply have to last 100 days out in the wilderness. And I have been obsessed with this show. First, I think I can do it. Secondly, and more importantly, I don't think it's as hard as it looks. I think, Pat has long said, well, American Ninja Warrior is all gussied up for television, and, Storage Wars is gussied up for television. So, okay, fine. Maybe that's being done here too. Maybe they're trying to make it look tougher than it really is. I mean, you got all the time in the world to make a house, thatch a roof, and make yourself some snares or traps or bows. And like, I see people on there and they're making dumb mistakes. This one lady went to go fishing, and I'm kind of hoping for her. I think she's going to do a good job. She went and found this good fishing spot, but didn't bring her bow and arrow with her. So a big moose came by and she couldn't take down the moose. Well, I would have done that. I'd have taken that moose down, and then I could have smoked the meat or whatever and had it for a while. People make mistakes they don't anticipate. Like, you should bring your weapons with you if you're going to be hunting. I don't know. I think the show is really cool. The scenery is neat. The idea of it is cool. And I think it's the everyman thing. Like, it's man against nature. I think I could do it.
Okay. So would you like to start, or would you like me to start first? Because I watched the show. My grandfather is big into this show, so I've watched it with him when I go home. Oh, cracking a DC. He's getting into his groove here.
You'll probably be able to be more factual, but I think the take is absolutely egregious. You even started the show by saying noted indoorsman. Tim is afraid of taking a fish off a hook.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes,
but he claims to be an elite angler. He also had a moment, I think, in a previous record where he thinks he could just be an elite farmer. He just sees things and thinks he could be exceptional at them, and now he thinks he could be an elite Arctic survivalist. That's insane. This guy doesn't even want to leave his house putting on his bougie boots and jacket and scarf to get dinner, so he'll stay home and eat 2 sleeves of Oreos with sparkling water. But he's going to survive in the Arctic?
I love winter, though. Winter's my favorite season. I am a master angler.
You're not. Have you ever actually caught a fish before?
I told you people, on the first ever cast I ever threw in my life, I caught a fish. I'm actually pretty good at fishing.
No, I think he's a natural.
Anyway.
But he can't get the fish. But you can't get the fish off the hook.
Well,
so if you're surviving by yourself in the Arctic, would you be able to do it? Because it feels like you can't.
I obviously would have to. It's about survival, and I would do it. And I would just stiffen up my spine and get it done. And you don't do a lot of farming in the tundra when it's cold. So don't have to worry about that. It's just a matter of snaring.
No, that is not what we were talking about. What Geoff was saying is that you see farming and you think, I would be good at that. And now you're applying that same logic to surviving in the Arctic. Tim, what would you say the hit rate on people lasting the 100 days in the Arctic are based on this show?
I think only one person probably will make it, maybe two.
And it could be you.
And these are survivalists. They're not random people.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I want it.
What?
I want it badly.
Okay, how many hours does Tim last? I mean, no one has more experience with this kind of lifestyle than Paul, who was a professional tree planter for like 7 years. Not in the Arctic, I assume.
Only 6 years. So
6
like
years.
950,000 trees in the ground. Who's counting? And it's like 24 months worth of living in a tent up in the Canadian wilderness. So have at it.
My question to you is, based on this show, I don't know if you're familiar with the show or not, but like people are feeding you out there. Like there's stuff, like not necessarily around, but there's like an encampment and there's supplies if you need them. There's none of that here. And think about how hard was it to live just out in the wilderness anyway?
It was awful. And we had like a full out mess tent with cooks and people providing food for us. Like we didn't have to go out and hunt for our food or anything like that. Tim, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand
Here's
a
the
chance.
thing. Years ago, I read Walden by Thoreau and thought I could do that. I was inspired by that book. And I still think I could. Like, I could go out and make myself in the world like that. And it's like, yes, it would be difficult to cut down the tree. But they give you an axe or a saw.
You
so, like,
cannot be trusted with a pair of safety scissors. Now you're going to use an axe?
That's not true. I could cut down the timber and I could thatch the roof and I'd build. I could figure out how to make fire. How hard can that really?
You won't turn on. Okay, you're afraid to turn on a barbecue.
Obviously, I would have to like hang out where there's lightning or something, and then catch the fire from that, or bring a flint or find a flint and I have time. I'd figure it out.
What do you mean you have time?
You have 100 days to figure it out.
No, you have to last 100 days by. You're talking about snaring rabbits. Have you ever fucking snared rabbits? Because I have. This is what.
No, I haven't snared one.
So
but I've seen people snare them.
So you know how to actually set up a snare to catch a rabbit.
Well, I'm watching this show and I'm taking notes. I don't think this is as funny as you think it is. I think I could do this. I think the average person could do this. Man,
I think he's got a better chance of landing from space than he would surviving 100 days.
I think so too.
100 days in the Arctic with
nothing.
Nothing. And
well, a couple things.
So what do you get?
A tarp.
You get a tarp and a
axe,
hatchet.
A saw, an axe, and you may get one or two other things as well. Because I mean, obviously you get a camera or somebody's video camera. I think it's a camera of your own though. I think that's sort of it, and maybe some basic medical supplies. I don't know.
Paul, yes.
I feel like a spin-off episode of Cust camping, with like the whole dream team of the PME going camping, and like a little documentary needs to be done to see how good Tim is in the outdoors, how much of an outdoorsman he is.
I haven't camped in a long time. I tend to find 4-star hotels to be a bit, tough.
I went to.
So I'd really have to switch modes.
wait a second.
I went to Bonnaroo with Tim, and we had to buy a tent. Not a super big help setting up the most rudimentary tent there was.
That was the last time I tented. So that's 100% the last time I tented.
So the last time you tented was 12 years ago. Also, Tim once threw me. How familiar are you with Arrested Development, Geoff?
Quite familiar.
You know how when you like throw keys at George Michael and he turns his back? That's basically
this is
Tim.
Nonsense.
I once got Tim to toss me my keys from I would say 10 feet away, and he missed me by about 6 feet. So this is the kind of level that we're dealing with here. Tim, once you didn't have a lighter that you couldn't light your cigs with, you would be out of there within an hour.
Okay. I understand that it would be a challenge. I don't think it would be easy, but I have faith in me. And I think, in the climate where a lot of people are bothered by the cold and the darkness and it getting dark early and having to conserve calories, I feel like that's a psychological advantage I would have. Do I have all the physical gifts and skills some of these survivalists have? No, I don't. I'm not as experienced, but I'd read up some books before I went, and I'd feel like I'd be pretty prepared. But I still wouldn't be quite as experienced. But I'd have a psychological edge because I know that $1 million is out there. It's only 100 days, for heaven's sake. What have I done for the last 100 days? Lounge around. So I could
use the internet, be some air conditioning. You're on your lake property. If you do want to go for a swim, it's very nice out. Oh, you can go to the store and get some coffee. You would last maybe 45 minutes.
See, everyone has no faith in me, but I believe in me. I think if I didn't last the whole distance, I would last a respectable amount of time.
I don't know if you can.
Unless I got hurt or something.
I don't know if they'll have Dasani for you to boil while you're out there. That's all I'm gonna say.
You can't boil the water. You can't start a fire.
I could start a fire.
With what?
With
what?
Mankind has been starting fire.
You just said that you would wait for lightning. That was your strategy.
That is one way that ancient civilizations used to get fire. But people have been making fires for 10,000 years. I would figure it out. I'd have to figure it out. Necessity is the mother of invention. I'd get it done.
So what happens after 24 hours when you haven't figured it out and you haven't eaten anything?
There's not a chance in hell he would pass phase 1 of producer screening. He's a liability, like from Go.
Yeah, he is. There's no amount of insurance possible to get
You're
him
like,
on that
okay,
show.
we might bring him on because he's the guy we get to like show going home on the first episode.
He's the William Hung of Alone.
Like,
That's not very nice.
She banged Tim. That's you. Oh, Tim moves home.
I
You're
watched-
not staying in the Arctic.
I went to the
Tim's
Jays game when he sang the national anthem.
Tim is like afraid to go to Europe.
I'm not a traveler by nature, but it would be a good experience.
This is
This is ludicrous.
I'm
yeah,
just
he
saying.
would survive space more times out of 100 than he would survive this.
Yeah, this is
And I
instant
think
death.
the show is great. Often the show is turned into like me complaining about things. I have nothing but nice things to
You
say about the show.
literally
It's a lot of fun.
You think you can do everything, going back to my
No.
original point.
Why
No.
don't you just start out on Naked and Afraid? I think that's like 2 days.
Like, you watch a guy miss a 10-foot putt, and you're like, I'd make that.
No, I know I miss those because I miss those all the time.
So making a 10-foot putt harder than surviving 100
That
days
is-
in the
that-
Arctic, according
That
to
is
Tim.
not what I. That is
That is
not what
that
I
is
said.
what you
I didn't
just
say
said.
it was easy. I didn't say it would be easy for me to last 100 days in the Arctic on my own, but I think it could be done. I watch these guys cut down the trees and get things out, and you don't think the producers give them a little bit of help here or there?
No, that's the point of the show is to watch the people crumble. You want to do as little for them as possible. That's the production part of this.
Well, I think I will. When I watch it, I imagine myself in that situation.
If anything,
what
the
would I do?
producers wet the wood, like to make
Yeah,
it
to make it
harder,
worse.
like
Yeah,
to
Paul?
make your life miserable.
So is this show basically like Naked and Afraid, but without the naked?
Yeah, without the naked, but it's like real people who are survivalists, and it's like the most extreme conditions. My grandfather loves it. So my grandfather is someone who probably could have gone on this show once upon a time from the backwoods of northern Newfoundland. This is where he grew up. When I went snaring rabbits, he's the one who showed me how to make a snare. When I would go hunting with him. And I don't know if he would be able to cut it out there. Not enough booze. So, Tim, if he locked himself out of his house, he'd have a meltdown. But he's going to
That's
survive
not
100
true.
days in the Arctic.
You try to make it sound like I'm so soft, but I'm not.
What are you talking? You're like the softest person alive.
Oh, please.
You're-
I'm made of pretty tough fiber.
You are afraid to turn on a barbecue. For years, you
I'm not
wouldn't use
afraid,
it.
I'm
For
just-
years, you wouldn't turn on an oven because you thought you burned the house down.
I didn't want to make a mistake, okay?
You're afraid of peacocks.
Well, those
what
things
about
are
when a
terrifying.
polar bear rolls up on you? What's gonna
I
happen?
don't think
then?
there are. I don't think polar bears are hanging out that far south. This is like Great Slave Lake, that area.
So, black bears then, or grizzly bears.
There's like
Lots of
Wolverine. There's
grizzlies.
Wolverines hanging around and bears. Yeah, well, like if you have to be smart, like some of these people are dumb. They like hang their dried fish in the trees instead of like building a wooden cache or a stone cache.
You're
that
talking
can
about
protect it.
smoking the meat you kill, bud. You're talking about where you building a smoker?
His homemade smoker, and of
But
like
you do it
no.
over the you do it over a flame.
You bring in a green egg?
No, you do it over a flame, right? Over a fire. You can just smoke it real quick.
I think you're vastly overrating your ability to acquire fire within the short amount of time that you would need in order to actually eat something.
I think I'd be able to get it going because I would have nothing else to do until I got fire. If I put my mind to something for that long, I'd get it. Almost anybody would.
You would.
He once read a book on how fire is made
I have actually.
and can't do it. It's just like how Tim has the taste of Italy because he once read a book on Italian cuisine.
Hey, listen, I don't need to go to the Sistine Chapel to know what it looks like. I can see it on my computer and I can read about it in a book.
He's a very cultured individual. What else do you got? Alone, watch it, History Channel. Better than that Oak Island show.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Something you had brought to my attention and I took notes on was this list about the most difficult sports
Ah.
and how asinine that list is from that fella.
Well, it's okay. So this is one I actually really did want to talk about. So there's like a list of like 65 sports or something. They were ranked in terms of difficulty, like 1 to 65. but I don't quite understand what the parameters are for it. Like, is basketball hard? And what level of basketball are we talking about? Like, if I'm not 6'5", chances are I can't play professional basketball. Or unless you're so amazing in the 0.00001% who's 6'1" and they can play and be amazing point guards or something like that. Like, there are some physical limitations to some of this stuff. So are we talking about just casually playing basketball and how hard that is with other people who are the same size as you, I suppose? Or is it how hard is it to play at the absolute highest level? That's the part I didn't
Like,
quite
how
understand.
hard would it be to make the pros in like to make?
I don't. That's why I don't understand about this list.
I think it should be what would be the hardest to do even a cheap sort of facsimile of. So, for example, golf. Obviously, the best golfers in the world are incredibly skilled at a very difficult sport. I can go out there and shoot 90, so I can sort of fake what they're doing a little bit.
But you can't.
Whereas, let's say,
but you can't.
figure
but
skating.
Hold on.
Figure skating,
hold
not
on.
even close.
No, hold on though. You can't actually go and shoot 90. You and I can go out and shoot 90 when we go out and play together. If we were to show up at the PGA Tour and try to play from where they play
From
from
the
with their
tips.
setup, we're shooting like 180.
Sure, but my point was I can do a cheap facsimile of it. That is not the case when it comes to
You could be-
figure skating.
No, you could do it
or
with figure skating. You
cheerleading.
put on a pair of figure skates and fall down the entire time.
But I'm just
No,
saying,
I
you
don't-
both like are putting from 25 feet with a pro. There's like a pretty good, decent chance you're both down in the same number.
Sure,
Yeah,
but what about
exactly.
when you're on the tee?
Oh, I'm just saying there are parts of the game. I don't know. Golf is cool in that you can like walk where they play. Obviously, you play different tee boxes, but you can play the field.
But that is also sort of the equivalent of I can go to a batting cage and set it to 90 miles per hour. If it's coming down the same way the entire time, I
Yeah,
can hit it.
I can
if
hit-
I stood in front of a pitcher who was also mixing in and not throwing it at exactly the same speed in exactly the same spot every single time, I would not be able to hit it.
Yeah.
So
I agree, but I still think that would be easier. That's still a facsimile of something like, I don't know, diving, like professional diving.
No,
you actually have to
I can
do something.
no, but to use it's just because you're only saying this because you don't do any of these things. If you just jumped off a diving board, I could be a diver. Is basically the logic that you're putting out here.
No, or like ski jumping, right? Like that. That's or bobsledding. Otherwise, anybody could do bobsledding.
Wasn't like marathon
luge.
running on this list?
Yeah, Tim can run, therefore
Doesn't mean my
marathons not so challenging.
It's like
I
his
ran a
serving sign. It
half
doesn't matter
marathon.
what your time is. You ran the marathon.
That's right. I mean, I'm probably the only person on this podcast who's actually ran a half marathon.
You're right. I've run full ones.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying I'm probably the only one who's run a half marathon.
Yeah.
So
see.
if I
what
can
was
do
your
that,
what was your time, by the way? I'm curious.
I do not remember.
Do you think you ran the half marathon as fast as I ran the full marathon?
Probably faster. Yes.
I would hope so.
Anyway, the number one sport they had here was boxing, and I don't agree with that. As much as I think boxing is incredibly difficult, just about anybody, two people can strap on gloves and fight, right? Ice hockey, 2, football, 3. I don't think any of these top ones should be. Martial arts, you can make a case for martial arts, which is ranked 6 at number 1. Totally. You can make that case. I think figure skating needs to be way up there. Water polo needs to be way up there. And then all the rest of them are like, oh, I don't know. Like calf roping. Yeah, that is incredibly hard. Could you imagine trying to calf rope? How hard that would be?
Paul, you want to weigh in on this?
I actually disagree with the MMA take being MMA being the hardest. Like Greg Hardy is just a really good athlete who just stumbled upon MMA because the NFL
Well, it's
wouldn't
not-
play him anymore.
Not
and he's
MMA,
able to get to
martial
like
arts.
What the hell is martial arts? Like judo?
What the hell's
Karate.
Karate?
judo.
Well,
Is
mixed
karate
martial arts
even like
is
a
all of
sport?
those things all in one. All I'm saying is that if you're a big boy with power, you don't really have to be all that skilled. You can make your way in the sport without a great skill
Okay.
set.
Well, then how can we rank any of these sports then?
Well, that's why I'm trying to set parameters for it. And basically what you've said is that anything you can't do is the most impossible thing in the world.
Seems to me if I couldn't do it, it must be hard.
You can't turn on a barbecue. We just went over this. Not hard.
I don't know why you keep going
Why
back
do you
to that.
Because
not
it's the
think
most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life.
figuring out these sports is a lot easier than surviving 100 days in the Arctic?
This is true. But apparently that's pretty easy. Yeah, I don't see
I never said it was pretty easy, and no fair listener will think I said that.
just the fact that you said you think you can do it
Yeah.
just proves how insane you are.
I could do it.
So on this list, boxing, hockey, football, basketball, wrestling. I don't know if that's the pros or the amateur level.
I think it's real wrestling. Yeah.
So amateur wrestling, not pro wrestling.
Olympic wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you turn professional, it gets easier. That's not usually the case. That seems kind of crazy to me. Fishing, billiard from the bottom down, 60 down. Fishing, billiard, shooting, bowling, curling. Then archery. Archery seems like it would be tougher.
Archery would be tough.
Although
Of
you
those
just
groups. I
talked
mean,
about bringing your fucking bow and arrow with you and shooting a moose.
I would have. Well, if there's 20 yards away from you, you should be able to hit a moose with an arrow.
If
Like,
something
come
is 20 yards, okay, 20 yards away from you, so 60 feet away from you, you think you could hit a moose with an arrow? How much would you like to bet?
a moose, yes, that's
how much?
Target.
How much would you like to bet me on that?
Well, we are never going to be able to.
You
to
give me
verify
you
this.
you Google the average size of a moose. I will set up a target 20 yards away from you. I will give you a bow and arrow and see if you can fucking hit it. And you only get one shot at it, by the way,
We're not going to do this
because you can't do it. Just admit.
I think I could, but
no. Then put your fucking money where your mouth is.
no,
you
I don't
coward.
want to. I'm not going to be bullied, and so no.
Bullied for what? So you're just out here making asinine
What-
claims about things you can't do?
One day the show might have an extensive production budget where we'll be able to do things just like this.
It's true that billiards should be down there. Remember the time in Phoenix I kept running the table playing billiards? That's how easy that was.
That didn't happen, but okay.
Because my opponents kept scratching on the 8 ball, so I kept winning over and over again.
That's right. That was at our Airbnb. He won 2 games in a row because people scratched on the 8.
Being a pro, at
That
darts
also
is
included
hard.
people. It was at my bachelor party, which included
Oh.
people like jumping on the table as the game was going around.
No, not while it was going on.
It was. That's what Artie was up to.
I think volleyball is also incredibly difficult.
What?
No.
Out of
Volleyball
all
no.
of these things, like, I'm not saying it's easy, but like, give me a break.
Volleyball.
Oh, I think-
there's a reason like every elementary school plays it because it's super easy to teach little children.
Oh yeah, so it's so easy. These people that go to the Olympics, they barely have to work at it. Okay.
So let's say that about any sport. To be the best in the world, Tim, at billiards, also not so easy, right? Not everyone can be like you and have opponents scratch on the 8 when you can't make a shot the entire time.
I can make a couple of shots.
You
but
can't.
Anyway.
You have bad coordination. We just went over this.
I use the rake.
Oh.
I believe that rake is there to be used. You ought to use it. I think that there's this like moral indignation against people who use
You're
the
saying
rake.
that you're not soft and you're someone who uses a rake, and the table he's using the rake at is not a real billiards table. It's like one of the shitty ones you would get at home.
Whatever. I'm not afraid to say I used it. I think you should. I think that it's very strange not to. The professionals use it. I should mention. It's like the same people who say, "Well, I'll never use a hybrid on the golf course. That's not for for real men." Nonsense. Like that type of thinking is.
I've never
It's
heard
prehistoric.
anyone say that on the golf course.
Oh, I have many people.
You know people who
Yeah.
forbid to use a hybrid?
I don't use hybrids because I can't hit them. I enjoy irons. But apparently Tim is talking about fictional people he's made up who disagree with him.
No,
over
I'm
it.
not making up fictional people.
All right, then who? Give us names.
Our friend Tim Butts thinks this.
So our one friend who, because you use hybrids, so he makes fun of you for using them, and you've taken this as everyone says this? Who are you, Trump?
Everyone's against me on it.
Hybrids are great.
Also,
I have a 7 hybrid that I hit fantastic.
did I tell you what Tim did the other day? Remember how...
7 hybrid. What's that supposed to
It's
replace?
like a 165, 150 shot. Like if you're in the rough or don't have a great lie, it's a pretty decent club.
You
can
bought
put a
that
couple there.
out of like a seniors set.
No, I bought it at a golf show.
Yeah, that it's a seniors club, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a seniors club. It's just a club.
No, I guarantee you it's like a senior shaft.
Oh, I don't know. It's a Nike. It's a nice club. It's one of those squares.
I'm just saying I'm
And-
165. What iron is that replacing
That
for you?
usually is a 7-iron or an 8-iron, depending on.
Why would you
the
go to a
situation.
hybrid instead
Because
of
if I'm in the rough and I don't have a great lie, that's precisely the club I want to be using to get it out of there.
Wouldn't you
The
want to
iron
use
is
the
just-
iron to like chop down on it?
No, that's why they're called rescue clubs, to rescue you from bad lies.
whatever works. Whatever works.
He's
I don't
talking
care.
about not being soft. He's just mentioned he uses the rake in pool and he uses a 7 hybrid on the golf course.
I am not soft.
You're pretty soft. As soft as it gets. Wait, instead of just calling you Tim Andercust, we'll call you Charmaine Andercust.
That's not very nice.
Charmaine the Cust.
So remember we always say on the show that Tim gets all these DMs from people telling him how like they actually
Yeah.
agree with him. He's not soft and all this stuff. All the people that
Let's
actually,
not tell the
that
story. Let's
actually
not tell
agree
the
with him.
story.
So we were pressuring him in our text thread the other day because he was claiming that people were saying this. So he sent us a screen grab of someone telling him he was absolutely correct. What he had forgotten about was that DM was from someone in the group making fun of him. But he had cut the name out of it and just thought that the person wouldn't remember. So he's passing off troll DMs as real DMs to the people that made the comment in the first place.
I plead guilty.
And then, so he took the screenshot on his phone and cropped it, and then said that was Photoshop, and then didn't realize that Photoshop is like a thing, like a real thing.
I thought that photoshopping was when you took a photo and you altered it in some way. And I thought a screenshot would Photoshop you could Photoshop your screenshot by adjusting the parameters. I didn't realize it was a program. Like I know for Mac that GarageBand is like a thing that people use to to modify things.
You mean GarageBand is a thing you use to modify audio?
Well,
It's
I just
for
figured
audio.
media is media. What's the difference?
Well,
And
one of them you hear and one of them you see. I mean,
But I
that's two
Googled it
very
and-
distinct differences. The Garage,
So I
you
Googled
cannot
it,
edit
and yes.
photos in GarageBand, Tim.
I didn't realize that Photoshop was a program. I thought it was like a verb, like Kleenex, like just that it just meant a certain thing. That it didn't mean like a particular program of editing. I thought if you do a screenshot and you write something on it, that's Photoshop. No, it's not apparently.
Apparently, no. Thank you for clarifying that for everyone out there. They had no idea.
I didn't bring it up. You brought it up.
I don't think that but how pathetic was that? Can you talk through what your mindset was at the time when you did that?
Of what?
About just being that pathetic, trying to pass that
I
off.
don't think it was. I thought I was going to get one on them because it had been a while since that had come in.
So you really
I just
do
wanted to win the
rarely
argument.
have people agree with you.
Yeah, he's lying about that.
Oh, I have other DMs like that, but I just refuse to reveal the sources.
Instead, he tried to pass one off, the only one I assume he's ever gotten, as a real one.
It's not true.
Then why didn't you just use one of the real ones?
Because I didn't know where it was, and I didn't want to scroll down. And
So
it was
many
there,
can't
and-
find
Yeah,
them.
just so many. Let's get back to this sports, most difficult sports stuff. If you actually had to throw it out there, the most difficult sport to do, Geoff, what do you actually think it is? I think you can make the case for boxing. I get why boxing is number one. Like professional boxing, 12 rounds. Was it 2 minutes around, 3 minutes, 2 minutes around? Is that what it is?
3 minutes.
Is it 3 minutes around? Okay, 3 minutes around, 12 rounds. The physicality, the endurance, everything like that to actually stand up and go 12 rounds, that seems tough.
But here's the thing. Didn't this list have like tennis at the very bottom or near the very bottom?
Table tennis is 47th.
I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, that's not a big shocker. Tennis is actually 7th on the list,
Okay,
most
good.
difficult.
Oh, that makes sense.
Tennis is tough,
Because
man.
yeah, if you're
Have you
playing
ever-
against a real good player, like how you gonna get anything back?
Yeah, if you're not good at tennis and the guy you're facing can actually serve, you're done. Like you're not going to get a point.
Yeah, unless he double faults. That's the only way you have a chance.
And then if he did double fault, you would claim how great you are, wouldn't you, Tim?
I mean, I'm not the worst at tennis,
Oh,
but I'm not great
really,
at tennis.
you're-
I can play it. Like
I
I can
saw-
rap.
What do you mean you can play it? Like you can bounce
can
the ball
play it.
off the wall to yourself?
No. I used when I was younger. I played a little bit. I'm not the worst.
So what
at
you're
it.
saying is that you're basing your tennis acumen on something that happened 25 years ago.
Sure. I mean, I think
all
it's
I
some of it's
take
muscle
from
memory.
this is he
You think it's
knows
muscle memory?
he knows the rules and he's excited to go for a rally.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I doubt I'd be all that good anymore.
I
but
remember when this list came out, there were some angry professional bull riders on.
Well, where's
the
bull
internet.
riding on this? Rodeo, bull riding, bareback. Well, anyone can bareback if they want to. 42 on the list of 60.
I know
Seems
that's one of those
incredibly
things. Like I don't know, you go into the bar and you hold on, the mechanical bull.
Yeah, no one's ever good at that. But there's other things like I just don't know how to quantify
Now that's
this.
something I want to do. I want to run with the bulls in Pamplona. I had that written down. That would be fun.
Do you think that would be
Imagine how
fun?
much fun that would be.
Let's put you on the
Yes.
let's put you on the mechanical buck and bronco first. See if you can stay on that one.
Well, you don't ride a bull at.
Yes, Tim.
the
if
running.
you cannot stay on that should be one of the parameters of going to run with the bull. If you can't stay on the fake bull for 5 seconds, then you can't go run with them because you will die.
Oh please.
Tim, you're afraid of peacocks.
Ugh.
And you lack
how are you gonna deal with a
mobility.
bull?
I'm not going to lie to you.
And you're afraid of Europe. Couldn't you just watch this on TV?
I'm not afraid of Europe. I'm not afraid
You're
of Europe.
afraid
I
of
just don't like-
barbecues.
I don't like I'm not afraid
You're afraid
of barbecue.
You're afraid of fish.
I'm afraid of live fish that are near me.
He's never going to the Great Barrier Reef. I guess that's not in your travel list.
Oh
I suppose.
God, no! That's my idea of a personal hell, having to go scuba diving or snorkeling
Scuba diving
in one of those places. I just can't imagine. That would be, again, too bougie for my tastes anyway. But certainly not something that I want to do.
Yeah, being the white guy from North America who goes and runs with the bulls. Yeah, I'm not bougie at all. 44, weightlifting. Weightlifting.
Well, you've already seen the most impressive weight lift in the world where you get it halfway to your waist, so maybe it should be lower.
Yeah. So how do you, like, Geoff, how would you quantify weightlifting? Like, anyone can lift weights.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what that means.
But that doesn't mean lifting it at the highest level isn't probably one of the more difficult things to do. Like,
Maybe.
Like, there's cycling long distance. So Tour de France, they talk about, is the most difficult sporting event in the world. But if you didn't even give me the 100 days or whatever it was, like you gave me a year to go cycle it, I could probably finish it. You know, just do a few kilometers a day, be all right with it. Like, I don't quite understand what this list is trying to tell me.
Not a clue.
No, I think I think the conceit of it is very poor.
But just straight up, I don't necessarily disagree with boxing. I would actually have water polo one.
And why does softball get the rub that baseball gets for being difficult?
Well, one rises.
I'm not saying
They're
it's
very
easy,
close
but I
when they
think
pitch.
it's much different.
But like track and field sprinting.
But we also agreed, like, I would probably hit 0.50 if I played baseball.
No, hold on. We never agreed with
So
that.
we can't think baseball's that
You
hard.
ran a poll and no one agreed with you. Everyone agreed you would.
Really? You said no one would, and I had double-digit support.
Tim, that was trolling on you. And people got you confused with Tim Anderson, the baseball player.
No, you were just saying that because you lost.
I didn't lose. What are you talking about?
Only
See, this is why
that-
people think, and you get the moniker of being insane. Geoff,
I'm not
he's hitting
insane.
0. He hits like 200 in slow pitch softball, mixed softball, but he's
not
going to hit 0.05, 0.005. He's going to hit 50 in Major League Baseball. Yeah, give me a fucking break. You're delusional.
I'm not delusional.
You really are. Like, it's like when you said you could run the 40 really fast, and then you ran it 3 times, and your fastest one was over 7. But then you said,
my fastest one. You know what? You were just trying to bait
I'm
me,
not.
and I'm not.
The
going to
one
bait
time that you cracked 7 seconds, you left well before the marker
No,
went off.
I am not going to take the bait.
You're not trying to take the bait. We have it on
Don't
video.
take
So
the
now
bait.
you see, this is what Trump does.
It's not bait, Tim. We legitimately don't think you can do any of these things.
I have done some of them.
Like what?
What hit 5? What was it?
No,
hit-
I've not done that.
He said
Hit
he would get a
50
hit in Major League Baseball every 20 at bats.
No,
Is
maybe
what
he
he said.
made contact with like.
He
one
wouldn't
out
make
of 20.
contact. He
But
strikes
like
out
gets
in slow
on base
pitch.
with defenses there. Like no chance, man. I don't care how many half marathons you've run.
I don't have to explain myself.
All right, what else do you have then? Because this stuff is just ludicrous. Do you have any like actual topics here?
I had the return of baseball and how upset I am that it's even returning.
Yeah, I know. Baseball sucks. Let's not even talk about it. Perfect. I'm
I
with
know.
you.
The
No,
idea
I
that-
said that we're not going to talk about it. 'cause
Okay,
baseball
but
sucks.
I'm going to finish my
No,
sentence.
we
then.
don't care about that. You know what I saw
Well,
upstairs, Geoff? When I was shopping at the
Yeah.
grocery store, they have half meat, half vegetarian hamburgers. I don't.
Are you reading my mind? I have this on my pad, the 50-50 burger.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Who is the market for the 50-50 burger? People who don't want to eat meat or think meat is unhealthy or are allergic to meat or whatever their personal reason is for being against meat want nothing to do with meat. And the people who want meat want nothing to do with the Beyond Burger stuff, or they would buy that. Either sell to the market that wants meat or sell to the market that does not want meat. This is like Solomon actually cutting the baby in half and actually giving a half to each. Who does this solve? Who does this help? Nobody. I saw that commercial several weeks ago now, and I wrote it on my pad for the show. Like, who is the market? What genius came up with this in a board meeting and said, I know our solution. We should have burgers for people who want to eat less meat, but not no meat. Who does that describe?
I very rarely agree with Tim on food takes of any kind, but I saw it sitting there, and they were all there.
Of course they
They
were.
were very much in stock. And I just thought to myself, like, who would want this? Vegetarians don't want this. Meat eaters don't want this. Like, who is the in-between person?
No.
Like, is it like the patch? He's like, oh, I'm trying to wean myself off cigs. I'll wear this patch to get me through to not smoking. If I'm a meat eater, I'm going to do some 50-50 for a bit, and then I'll be vegetarian. Like, that's not a leap, is it?
No, I don't understand it whatsoever. I would never.
I'm sure. And the thing is, I'm sure it tastes fine.
I don't doubt that.
Like,
I actually doubt that it
No,
tastes.
they can make it taste like
they can make it taste like anything. Like, I had a veggie burger the other day that was excellent.
Nah, I don't think there's such a thing as an excellent veggie burger.
But
I think
so. You've
there's
actually
an
never had
okay
one.
veggie
So anyway, listen.
I actually have had veggie burgers and the Beyond Meat stuff because as a man of the people, I felt it was my obligation to try these things. And I found them to be satisfactory.
They're fine. You can make them taste like whatever. And most veggie burgers, like the Beyond Meat stuff, way worse for you than actual burgers. So anyone who's like switching.
Well, but that's most people who are eating Beyond Meat are not eating it for health reasons, right? They're eating it for ethical reasons.
Yes. Now, that is one thing. But I do know a lot of people that switched from being meat eaters to being vegetarian because they thought it was a good weight loss program. And it was. We had
The opposite is true.
We had an old. It's not the opposite. It depends on what you eat. It's like people who go vegan. We had a friend. It was the same friend that who you had brought up. He had once got relieved from the movie theater for putting his head underneath of the cheese thing as it was going. His girlfriend was vegan. I believe he's vegan now too. But she used to just eat these vegan fries and vegan cookies all the time. Like those were the only two things she ate. There was nothing healthy about it. It was like the most unhealthy lifestyle you could have.
He actually, of anyone I've ever known, I've never seen like outside of like TV or a magazine, a physical transformation quite like.
Yeah, he's the original. Like my pants are 3 times bigger than the ones I wear now.
Like I remember
He runs
meeting.
marathons.
I remember meeting him at the score in like what had to be like a 3X Joe Thomas bright orange Browns jersey. Talking like a video game wrestling tournament.
And like you see him 8 years later, and
And
he's in good shape.
Yeah, he obsessed. It's a lifestyle. I don't know, but he's a
One
booze
time I
hound,
visited
so
his
it was
place. I remember
even more impressive. He's a booze
I
hound.
visited his place once, and I remember he had those really, really spicy nuts.
No,
Yeah.
you visited his place once and got scared shitless out of Alexa.
That's true.
That
That was
also
that
happened
night.
that same night. That was the same night,
out.
yes.
I got kicked out.
Yeah, Paul got ejected from the building.
And then wasn't feeling very good the next morning either.
Yeah, was that the day the one day you've been late the entire time we've
Yes.
worked together?
I mean,
it
I
was.
I like to claim that forces. It was
Oh, yeah.
Tim happened to be in town. Everything was working hunky dory, and then forces out of my control just happened to curse me, get me really, really drunk, and
is
get me
like-
kicked out of the party and late for the live show.
Yeah, and it's my fault that Topgolf went down too. I've heard this all before.
Well, the Topgolf went down the moment you put your card in and took it out. The entire thing shut down.
That was just a fluke.
Really? Fluke, huh? I don't think so. I think it's a fluke.
I want to talk about TV theme shows. I've been watching a lot of old TV recently, a lot of old TV. And what I noticed about good modern TV shows and good old TV shows is they all have excellent theme songs. That is a thread that connects 2020 to the honeymooners back in the 50s. And I don't understand why TV networks and shows aren't putting on good, catchy, long-term theme songs, because those are the thing that sell your show. Think about Game of Thrones, The Wire, The Sopranos, modern shows. They all had great theme songs too. It's not just Maude and All in the Family.
Then
and
there's
the Jeffersons.
Maud.
So
Exactly.
Then
I
there's
have a
Maud.
There's no good
I have
reason.
there's two. It's twofold. There is one really good reason for certain shows not to have it. And do you find anything very similar to the shows that you would just mention that still have good theme songs?
No, because there's network ones too. The Big Bang Theory, for example, has a pretty catchy one. Like it, I actually don't think it matters whether it's network or
It does.
non-network. Almost all the best shows have great theme songs. Cheers, right? The classic. It's worth cutting out the 45 seconds out of the show.
See, you know
Put
who
in that
highly
great-
disagrees with that? People who make the fucking shows, Tim.
Well,
And,
okay,
and
I
in
don't think-
1989, you got around 24 and a half minutes of screen time to run your show. In 2020 on network TV, you get approximately 21 minutes and 30 seconds. You've lost 3 minutes out of your show. So that's why a lot of network TV
So
shows...
what's another 30 seconds? Put on a great theme song that everyone knows and remembers and can sing and is catchy. It makes all the difference in the world.
the best...
It's huge.
listen,
Dialogue no one will remember.
I like
30
a good
seconds.
I like a good theme song. Don't get me wrong, but after trying to binge watch Game of Thrones, I watch it like once or twice, and then
Yeah, you
it's
gotta
the
skip it.
button. So that's why I like Netflix. Like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt has an awesome theme, but even
Yes, it
after you
does.
watch like 3 in a row, you're just like skip theme. Let's go right to it.
See, that's not how television is supposed to
The
be.
best-
consumed.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Tim, that not everyone watches TV like it's 1965.
But like Breaking Bad didn't.
But I see those. That's what the
But even on AMC, Mad Men did.
Mad Men did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
But it wasn't really
that's also
not really a
that
great
debuted what 17 years ago.
Mad Men.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm old.
2003?
If that's the
Is that what it
case,
is?
wow.
They actually just got into a thing right now because a lot of
Yeah, they're old episodes in the race. But
Yeah, well,
I think I think they made the right decision.
I think so too. Like a lot of different shows took off. Like if they had like explicit blackface in their episodes, they took those out of like the streaming services. But the episode in question, Tim, if you remember, is the one where
Is that where Sterling has his Kentucky Derby show?
yeah, and Don goes to it and Sterling's doing blackface. I think
The whole point of that
Is that he's an
scene
idiot.
is to show how stupid
Yeah,
Sterling
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And that everybody except for Pete and Dawn think it's funny, but Pete and Dawn realize that it's terrible.
yeah, I agree with their decision to keep it in. Like
It was outrageous then. The point of it was to be outrageous, to show how terrible this was. And that's not the only scene in Mad Men where that kind of stuff happens by any means. But the point of it was to show how radically different things were in the 1960s and how stupid they were being about these things.
and it was there to show that Pete and Don were a bit different than everyone else that they were around at the same time.
Correct, that they were both men of their times. And that commie, what was his name? I didn't like him. The guy with the beard.
Oh, the guy who
Communist.
ended up on Briar Patch? Stan?
Yeah.
Stan the artist? Or are you talking about the guy that ended up in Hare
I think
Krishna?
he was also in The Americans, right?
Yes, in Hari Krishna. Yes.
Oh, he was the media guy. No, that was Harry.
Yeah.
Harry was the media guy.
The Brit,
Paul was
right?
great.
The English guy.
No, he's talking
Paul.
about, we're talking about Paul.
Paul.
Them
Guy who
going
was
to
like- they went down. Yeah, exactly. The guy who had the big beard was a communist.
yeah, he ended up he tried to write that Star Trek episode when they finally caught up with him and he was at the Hare Krishna place.
Yeah.
Was
And
the
he
one
had
who,
the
like
little
pissed
symbol.
himself.
No, he
Like
left after
In
one
the-
of the
Season
mergers.
Season 3, yeah.
Uh,
I think when Sterling Cooper Draper Price came into existence, he didn't get brought on.
That is a show that I'm curious. Yeah, almost like how The Wire became kind of known as the show that you need to watch, like well after it was done, and even like 10 years after it was done, that everyone kind of agrees that that is the show that you need to go watch. Mad Men is going to go into that ether, and people are going to go less with Breaking Bad and more towards Mad Men as time goes along.
maybe,
Well,
but
because Mad Men is timeless.
I agree. That's exactly why.
and to you, the original genesis of this conversation, the theme songs. Tim mentioned The
great.
Wire, but no one, I think it's the greatest ever, and just how they did it by changing up the genre of music each year. I love.
Yeah, but even if like I rewatched The Wire very recently, so I watched the theme song once when the new season started.
Sure,
and
but
then I
you've
just
seen the end.
it's 3 skips on the +30 button. Like you
I'm just saying,
there's no
great shows.
Yeah, but that's fine. But
have
there's no
great theme
incentive
songs.
to do any of this stuff anymore. Like the best theme song that there is on TV now is Curb, and it lasts 4 seconds.
I don't know if it's the best.
It is the most. When you so let me ask you this then: when you hear the HBO, duh, what do you
Yeah.
hear coming out of that in your mind? It's the Curb
I
theme.
guess I don't know what I think. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
What do you think it
I'm
is?
saying I've been watching a lot of old TV. The best shows all have great theme songs. I think there's a value to them. And I think if I were running a studio, I would insist on good theme songs. You don't get to the pilot stage without a great theme song with me.
It sounds like you're running a pretty quality studio over there.
That's how I feel, and I will not be moved
But the
from it.
best
I am a
modern-
I forgot with Tim that feelings are facts for him. Like truth doesn't matter. His truth is what's important.
Like, what is the most recent good theme song? Like you mentioned Big Bang Theory, but that show's actually not even that new. It doesn't
or
even
has a good
exist
theme song.
anymore.
It does
And
have a
it
good
had a celebrity band do it as well.
It's Bare Naked Ladies.
Yes,
right?
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Bare Naked Ladies. Yeah.
Like we had Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is the last one that I remember with a really good theme song. And it was based on, and if you didn't know the YouTube video it was parroting, like it would
Which
be,
people do. Which people do.
a lot of people do, but especially like people like our age. Imagine you're 21 right now. You look at it, but what the fuck is this?
I mean, I think that Modern Family has a pretty catchy theme
Oh.
song. Like the music is pretty. I like that show.
Hate
I don't
that
care,
show.
but I
Modern
will stand.
Family is
I'll
fine.
stand for that show.
Modern Family is like the homeless man's Arrested Development.
Okay, but like Arrested Development's not on anymore, so
It actually
I'll
is
watch
on.
what I can get.
But like, didn't you know? I stopped watching that show when the writers stopped trying. It's probably like 3 years ago,
Oh,
4
way
years
more than
ago.
that. It's off the air now. It's done.
No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
it
about
just wrapped up in May,
Modern
yeah.
Family.
Yeah, no, Modern Family's done now.
It
too.
just wrapped up, but I packed it up a while ago. I can see these writers were way too rich to give to be funny like they used to be.
yeah, the first few. It's
The
all
first couple seasons were
It's something.
fantastic.
That's the hard part about these shows that go on for so long is that the deeper you get into it, it's like The Simpsons.
Yeah,
now.
and you
The
can't really
Simpsons.
blame anyone for taking
Taking the
garbage
money.
bag of money.
Yeah,
and be like,
here's
all
$20
right,
million. Okay.
okay, all I have to do is write them, right? Okay,
That's why when we talk about these,
they don't even have to be good.
But that's when we talk about these shows that are long lasting. Like realistically, what if Game of Thrones had ended when Jon died? People would love Game of Thrones. They'd be
Very
pissed
similar.
off that they never finished it. But people would be like, "Oh my god, all these seasons were amazing."
Amazing.
Or just have it when Cersei blew up the place at the end of season 6. People like season. Was that 5 or 6, Tim?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because that episode is awesome.
Yeah, you're right. They go.
That
They,
is an
But then
excellent-
you go 2 extra seasons. It's not as good. Now everyone hates
Yeah.
your show.
they go. But listen, the people behind it, the networks, the ad sales, the people that write it, the people that produced it. It's all just we're gonna keep this train rolling. Very few times do they call the number and say we're not gonna do it.
No,
anymore.
Breaking Bad got to do that.
Yes,
And what's working against Breaking Bad, and this is not fair to Breaking Bad, but its spin-off is actually just as good as Breaking Bad.
It's a,
That's just a fact.
it's a
pretty good.
different kind of
Different,
show.
but good.
Like what,
It's different, but it is just as good. It's a different show, but I tell you, and that again, that's nothing against Breaking Bad. It's not its fault. In fact, if anything, it should be a benefit. But its spin-off is just as good, and that's very rare that you have that. But it's one of these situations. Like I think Frasier is as good as Cheers. You don't see it very often.
See, I think that Frasier is better than Cheers, but I am
No,
I
it
am far
probably-
more fluent with Frasier than Cheers. I haven't gone back again and rewatched Cheers, where I've watched Frasier like 4 times through, and it's always on too, which helps.
Well, yes, fair enough. But anyway, my point is that you can count on one hand the amount of shows that do that.
Yeah. Were you saying Joey wasn't as good as Friends? Because I'd argue they're
No,
both
but
they're
like-
both equally terrible.
I think the
Agreed.
Jeffersons are as good as All in the Family, but Maude isn't. Like, not every show hits that. Mork and Mindy is not as good as Happy Days. So even good shows aren't as good as their progenitors usually.
I'm trying to think of what like the most recent spin-offs would be. I'm surprised Modern
Well-
Family doesn't have a spin-off. I guess Young
It may.
Sheldon.
Yeah, Young Sheldon. Yeah, and I guess that's doing well. It's on CBS. Everything on CBS does well.
Are you a big fan of Young Sheldon, are you?
I haven't watched an episode, to be frank.
What? The show's like probably about your childhood.
But while we're talking about comedy,
watched the new
this
show,
this
dude.
fellow passed while we were
Oh,
off.
hold on. What's the new show that you're watching?
Well, a
Is
great
it Dave?
show.
Because you bring that up on every show.
No, I finished it like a long-standing show that I watched the whole thing. Bosch.
Is Bosch good?
I enjoyed it. If you like those gritty, like detective shows,
It has Marlowe from The Wire.
yeah.
It has
little
the guy
slow
from
moving.
Lost. The guy from the last season of Lost. The bad guy.
The Smoke Monster?
Yeah, Titus Culliver, I think his name
Okay,
is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched like the first 2 episodes.
And
10
it has
years ago or
the
something.
guy, the detective from like the, geez, what's his name? From The Wire, the police chief. Well, I don't know what he
Burrell?
was.
Oh, Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels.
Daniels. He was also in Lost. He was also in Fringe too.
Yes, yes.
I like Fringe.
Yeah.
There's a show no one ever talks about anymore.
Like the people who wear AirPods. Fringe.
Oh, let's talk about this. Do you have AirPods?
I'm not on them.
No, Jeff's a man of the people.
What is it about AirPods that you don't like? Is that they don't stay in your ears? Is that you lose them?
I think I would lose them. I just
so you
run
think
through.
you would lose them.
Yeah.
So Tim is arguing that wired headphones are better than wireless headphones.
No, that is wrong. I just lose enough of like the $13.99
You
ones
just buy
that I
those
buy
ones.
at Best Buy. So I feel like I don't want to make that leap
Yeah, you don't want to buy a $200 pair because you can just wear the $13 pair that you're going to lose and just go buy other ones. But he's claiming that wired headphones are great.
But you have no idea how many times before like a radio hit, I am untangling like headphones, like producers like, are you there? Like it's so annoying because they've just been in my pocket getting tangled.
So I went out and for whatever reason, I don't lose a bunch of headphones, but I don't have the air. Like I find that whether it be the Apple wired ones or the Airbuds themselves, like the Apple brand, they don't stay in my ears. My ears are too weird to fit it. They just fall out. So I have the Bose, the one with like the actual rubber, so it stays in, like the noise canceling ones. I would never wear another pair of headphones again. Like when we're editing here, yeah, we have the wired in headphones so we can hear directly from the system. But the way that this came up when I was talking to Tim was he claimed that people at the gym don't wear wireless headphones.
Almost very few do that I notice.
I don't see people with wired headphones at the gym.
Okay.
This is an incredibly bougie thing to say.
What?
Most people are using regular headphones that are plugged in.
You realize, Tim, stop. Tim, stop. Tim, stop. It is 2020. Regular headphones don't have fucking wires.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Just
when you buy an iPhone, they come with wireless headphones. No, not yours, because you bought the shitty one.
iPhone X is the good one.
Yeah, you bought it 3 years after it came out.
It wasn't 3 years.
It's just like when you bought the PS4, knowing that the PS5 was coming out in 2 months, and then we're like
that's
blown away.
Fault. The salesman didn't tell me the new one was coming.
Not his fault. Not his fault.
Because they're trying to unload them, Tim.
Not his fault. And I'll tell you why it's not his fault. Because during like the COVID quarantine, they were selling a lot of them. They didn't need it. Like there was no question and answer period about this. He just assumed you wanted to be a gamer for a couple months. It had no bearing or even responsibility to tell you a PS5 is coming for holiday 2020.
I didn't know. I just said I want the most up-to-date PlayStation because I'm a Sony person. I believe in brand loyalty.
You're a Sony person and you're buying it literally at the end of it. What do you mean you're a Sony person and you're buying a PlayStation 4 summer? You bought a PlayStation 4 summer of 2020 and and you go in and you say I'm a Sony person. Everybody looks at you like you're an insane person.
No.
Which would be accurate.
Hold on. Who says they're a Sony person? They're looking for a video game like. That would imply you've owned this console for like 5 years already, or yours broke down because you played it so much and you're just looking for a new one. I'm a Sony person.
What I meant to say by that, if I may, was that every video game console I've ever owned has been a Sony PlayStation. So I have comfort with the way that it works.
What was the last one that you owned?
I'm not on r/Sony to see the new updates every day.
Yeah, I don't think that was exclusive to Reddit, Tim. People seem to know that one. For a man of the people, you were really out of the loop.
I had no idea. And I just wish the salesman had said, hey, by the way, they're coming up with a new one of these in a few months. He's supposed to be my friend. He's supposed to help me.
You just walk into places. Tim bought a car, but he bought it off like a dead person from like, what year is your car? Like 2002?
Yes.
Yeah, and he bought it after some like old guy died. Like last year.
Yeah, whatever.
Great savings. But like if I was worked at a car dealership and Tim came walking onto my lot, I'd be like, let me tell you about the Supreme package. It's what you need.
You are, Tim. The console has existed for 7 years. For 7 years, and you told him you're a Sony guy. That might imply that the release of 5 hasn't been a secret. Even though it became official like weeks ago, it's been well known that a 2020 console war release between Microsoft and Sony was going to be the next gen console war. Like that was no secret anywhere.
Well, it was a secret to me because I didn't know.
Maybe you should become you should really become a more informed consumer.
The thing is, I still would have bought it. Because I needed it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, because of the.
But it would have been nice if someone had said, hey, by the way, a new one is coming in a few months. Just so that you know.
Hey, Tim, you should have went on like Kijiji or something for these things. You would have got it.
No, this was it was completely an impulse. Yeah,
you should. Yeah,
which is sometimes which is how I do a lot of my shopping.
Because like people are unloading those for like $200 and lower. Like you would have.
I don't want to know that. please.
I mean,
they were
look for
a lot-
those types
I
of
think
things
it's
when you're
like
looking for
$2.99 now.
7-year-old
Yeah,
devices.
yeah, but were they pre-owned? Because I don't like owning pre-owned stuff.
Oh, I'm too good. You guys are all fancy and elitist. I refuse to.
No, just
I
people
like.
that
I
have
like that
the
you won't
hateful
own.
regret.
I like that you won't buy a pre-owned PlayStation, but you will buy a pre-owned car. Something that you
I
actually
had
have
it
to go
cleaned.
into.
I had it cleaned.
You don't think you can take a Lysol wipe?
Well,
to your
hold on.
fucking
What are you doing?
PlayStation?
Are you sitting inside the PlayStation?
Well, no, but you touch the PlayStation with your hand.
Don't
You
touch your
can
car.
Lysol. What do you mean? Your car.
Well, just the car was cleaned when I purchased it. Like,
So,
it had,
like,
the-
what? Why? You can't
cloth had
Lysol
been
wipe the controller and like the
I'm not
dust
saying-
off
I
the
just- I-
console?
when I don't have to purchase something else that someone else has handled, I'd prefer not to. That's why I don't like to order groceries online, because I don't like other people handling my food any more than they have to.
Yeah, but you.
I'm just-
Yeah, but you don't go to the self checkout, so someone's always handling your food when you go to the grocery store.
I have been going to the self checkout pretty regularly during COVID because
Oh,
I just
have
would
you?
prefer,
I thought you wanted to go to the counter to make sure that those people kept their jobs, Tim.
if the line is shorter there, I would go to them. Yes, but as a rule, the line has been much shorter at the self checkout.
Oh, it's funny how his values change when it's convenient for him.
No, I think I still hold the same position that if all things were eating equal, I'd go to the cashier.
I'm-
But if they're not, well then.
But that was never the case. The self checkout almost always, especially before
Nah.
all this happened, has a way shorter line.
Always shorter.
Depends on the
It's
time of
always
day,
shorter.
my
No,
friend.
it doesn't. It's always shorter.
Yeah, it
Always
does.
shorter.
And it moves much faster.
And I'll say this about COVID right now: getting in the stores is easy. Getting out's the problem. It seems like the lines even for everywhere, but self checkout still faster. And there's something up with this. Sorry, I don't want to assume something's up in the town that you are from, in which Tim resides, because I just assume it's Tim being insane. But he makes ridiculous observations. The headphones is one thing, like at the gym.
Which has been confirmed by our friend who actually, like, Tim doesn't even go to the gym. So how
Yes,
does
I
he know?
do.
No, but-
our friend who actually goes to the gym has confirmed like 95% of people have wireless headphones.
My point being is, because it's something I'm enjoying right now, but meaning to bring up to Tim all day, I'm enjoying like an amazing swamp slushy. I went to a 7-Eleven. They had
Oh,
like
God.
15 options, and I went nuts with about 4 of them. You claiming, much like people in your hometown don't use wireless headphones at the gym, you claim people don't mix slushies. But
I've never seen it done. Never
That's
seen
I
it
have.
done before.
And I
last
don't,
year.
I don't drink or eat.
You are
slushies.
full of
People I know
shit.
Eat them.
No, I'm not. I've never seen
You've
it.
never
It never even
seen-
occurred to me.
you've never seen
It
other
never would have
people
occurred to me to make swamp water out of my slushies. You want a blue slushie today, or a red one, or a Coke one, or whatever?
Oh, the blue, the
Like-
red, the mix, it's all in here, bud.
So maybe to go back to the beginning, maybe Tim wouldn't be so bad on alone since he seems to have no touch with regular society as it is. So just being out in the wilderness for 100 days may not affect him.
I think you make things up, but like
You-
not
you're
actually.
calling him a liar.
No, like he sees what it's like living the truth, but in more ways than just the internet. Like
you
he
think I
sees
see
2
something and
people
just
wearing
assume-
wireless headphones. He assumes the gym is packed with people wearing, headphones with wires. That's, the only explanation.
Like because I used to work out with wired headphones, and then
So much better.
it's I don't understand how you could say it's so much. better.
So much better.
Tim clearly doesn't work out very hard. So
Yeah, again, there you go. Obnoxious.
how is that obnoxious? Look at you. Look at me. Who do you think works out harder? Please.
That has
Give
absolutely
me a fucking break
nothing-
here.
It has
so
nothing
if-
to
when
do.
you-
I am not finished my
Oh,
sentence. It has
you know what? I
nothing to
personally don't
do-
care. I'll just take you out of my ear.
It has nothing to do
So
with the wires.
when you're
or
at
not
like if
wires.
you're doing sprinting or you're
Asinine
doing
claim.
running or anything like that,
Asinine.
and you have like the wired and it's in your pocket, like that becomes somewhat difficult. It can fly out. If you just have it wireless, you can just stick that wherever and keep on going. You can put it on top if you're running on a treadmill. You can put it up there. But if you're actually like lifting on a bench, if you don't run the wire all the way down through like your shirt and then like tuck it in, the wire gets like a bit flimsy on the outside. So like when you're going down and you press up, you like pop it out of one side of the ear. Like creates a gigantic hassle. So that would be the issue that I have with it, where wireless, none of this happens.
Makes total
maybe
sense.
for you, maybe for you, but these are not problems that I've encountered. I think
I'm
it's
not
fine.
working out. So it's just been other than having to untangle the wires, it's the
I have a gym time booked for tomorrow.
What are you going to do? Give me your set list for.
Well, you only have an hour.
Okay.
So-
So tell me what you're getting in. You should probably be doing some supersets.
I have a plan. It's got to be. It'll have to be mostly cardio, and then
Why
a
would
little
you
bit of
spend
weight
your
training.
time? Why would you book an appointment at the gym to do cardio when you can go fucking run outside?
because I don't particularly like to run outside.
He's awesome.
I like to use the machines that I'm paying for, and then I'll do some weights at the end.
You
That's
just like
what
go
I like to do.
So you're going to go on a treadmill at your 1 hour at the gym.
Just go swimming for cardio.
Yeah, you live on a lake.
Yeah, but lake swimming is not as easy as you'd think because there were currents.
Even more difficult.
Better workout. This is what I'm talking about. You don't work out very hard. You're going there to walk on a treadmill.
I'm not going to walk on the treadmill, although walking on a steep incline is actually a pretty good workout.
But you're going to go walking, just not on an incline.
So you must miss the air-conditioned malls.
Well, the malls are back open, and I've been a couple of times. But no, I'm going to use the elliptical because that's really good for my joints, and I'm going to use the spin bike, and I'm going to use some weights or the circuit, and that's what I'm going to do.
See, this seems like a complete waste of time. If you're going to go, like, you could have bought yourself
all calories burned are equal. It does not matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, put it this way: you could have just instead of spending your money on an outdated PS4, you could have just went and bought an elliptical.
No, I like to work out of the house. I don't want to bring my workout home with me and live at my gym. I want to go to the gym.
I would think, and maybe this is just a personal to me. Maybe I have this wrong. But if I was going to go book an hour at the gym, I would want to go do the things at the gym that I don't have access to at every other time.
That's just common sense.
Cardio is cardio. You figure out your cardio one way or another. Like if I'm going there, like I don't have a bench at home, I'm going to bench. I don't have access to super heavy weights at home, I'm going to lift super heavy weights when I go to the gym. I have barbells at home up to a certain point. I can do all those exercises. I can go for the run. I have a track next to my house if I want to go run sprints. But if I'm going to go and I can't imagine gyms are super safe at the moment.
No.
A bunch of people sweating.
And I understand Tim's point. Like, I mean, I'm not a worker out person, but I understand Tim's point. He doesn't want to like turn his house into the gym. But I was like, in these times, in a situation where you have to book an appointment to use the gym, that's when you just turn your house into a bit of a gym with what you have.
Yeah, especially if it's something like an elliptical versus like, Tim, you can't get a bike. Like you live on the perfect biking road.
That I despise outdoor biking.
He's going to survive. He's going to survive in the Arctic.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
He doesn't want to run outside. He doesn't want to bike outside.
We'll put him in the Arctic. He's fine with no food.
He needs to do his cardio indoors. He cannot swim. Like this cardio snob cannot survive in the Arctic.
I could. It would be difficult, but I could do it. Again, snob is just a preference thing. I prefer to do things indoors. I don't have to. I could run outside. I just don't like doing it. But
you'd rather book a 1 hour appointment in like where your risk is elevated.
It's not even that.
Do cardio.
Here's the big key to all of it. When you get to the gym, I don't know what gym you're going to. I assume it's the same one that I go to, the same chain.
Yes.
All right. So you're going to get there, and I assume capacity is limited for these hours. You're going to get there, and you're going to see people who are like really giving it, and you're like walking on the treadmill or going on the elliptical, and that's what you're using. You're going to get so many death glares from the people who really want to get in there to actually work out when you could be doing that at home.
Well, I don't care. My money's as green as anybody else's. Like, if they think that's going to shame me, I will not be shamed.
We know you have no shame. Just listen to what you've said for the past hour.
To Pat's point, the like elliptical machine is probably the safest machine in there, and the treadmills.
Yeah, it's away from everybody else.
I think that they have dividers up at a lot of places.
And
I'm just saying because people aren't going into the gym to use the cardio machine.
Because why would you? You run outside.
So then, just point is, then that's the safest spot to be.
Yeah, but you're still in there. But you'd be much safer at home where other people aren't going in and out.
I was saying relatively speaking, but sure.
You got anything else?
What did I have else? I mean, those were the main things that I had down on the card, actually.
Yeah, nothing else? Nothing else bothering you?
Oh, well, I mean, yes. But I guess it just proves, again, how right I am about things.
Okay.
Like, I put this out on Twitter last week when I saw it. Millennials are now using avocado shells to drink lattes out of.
No, they actually aren't.
I knew that this millennial fad was going to hit its zenith, that this fringe culture was going to hit its high point, and we have it now. You know, these are the people, right, that when TIFF existed, they probably would have went to TIFF or the CNE to eat their fancy foods. Well, they can't do that anymore. So now they have to get their avocado shells and put it doesn't even make sense as a receptacle for a latte. You should be using a cup or a mug, or I think some of them come in like glass cups in some bars. or whatever, or bistro, or like coffee bars, whatever they're called.
So we figured this out now. So Tim sees one thing and assumes everyone does it. This is
what they're all doing.
who's on? Have you ever
Twitter
met a person who's done this?
I have not met somebody, but
Oh, so
somebody
but you know that they exist everywhere, though, don't you?
not everywhere, but they clearly exist, and I knew it was going to happen. It was an inevitability as far as the night. You knew it was going to happen.
Jeff, have you ever seen anyone do this?
I
Paul?
didn't even know it existed. I
Paul?
didn't even see the tweet.
Only the video that Tim sent me. Also, hilarious saying that the CNE is bougie. That's something that local people understand is like completely false.
The equivalency of the CNE to something in America would be the state fair.
Yeah,
100%.
there's nothing bougie about it.
It's like hot dogs covered in chocolate, deep fried. Here you go.
And you
sounds
see, I listen.
Of course you
I
do.
live in this
Of course you
city.
think that.
I've lived in Toronto, born and raised my whole life. I wonder what holes some of those people crawl out of to go to that thing.
Not the highest class of fair.
No, I'm not even saying like anywhere. Working down, like you see everything, and then there's like a group. I don't know where they're from. So it's the farthest thing from, but Tim just thinks because it happens in Toronto that it's like high
Yes.
class.
Well, I mean, he also said that millennials go to TIFF, which they don't. It's just like super rich people who go to TIFF. It's for the movie industry.
yeah, how do you
It's
go
an
to
international
A wide range.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sure
I
there's
mean,
a lot
what
of
you
them.
think, as we found out, means nothing because it's not based in fact. It's just what you personally feel.
Oh, I'm sure some kid who works for Rolling Stone is going to cover.
Is Rolling Stone like still a thing?
Oh yeah, it's still.
Is
thing.
it?
I'm sure that they. Yes.
Do you go? Do you see the magazine at the store?
I don't look, but I think they have it at the chapters, so I'm sure that it's still there.
I don't know about that. I don't know if they still print Rolling Stone magazine.
I think they do. I could be wrong.
I
I'm-
think I don't know if it just went online, but I think they do.
My point is, you've
imagine
got young
having a
people who
magazine.
definitely cover TIFF, who are movie critics or film critics or whomever.
So you say that
who
people who
descend upon.
work in an industry covering the thing are bougie because they're there?
You don't think TIFF is bougie? Okay.
No, TIFF is bougie,
But it's not for millennials.
but it's for bougie people.
Yeah, for like bougie 50-year-olds.
Yeah, I think CNE is more of that than you want to give it credit for. But anyway.
Tim, we went to a casino at CNE, which was unlicensed, and they hired a bunch of dealers who didn't know the rules of blackjack.
Tim, they sell
That was-
cotton candy and like
Subway.
candy
The
apples.
Subway.
Tim, it has its charms, but it's freaking revolting. It's a revolting place. My
I thought it
wife
was, like,
loves
the
it.
biggest-
I just urge her that we go in the first few days where it's just like, I don't know. You hope the grease is fresh.
Have you?
I understand CNE to be like Toronto's biggest festival, that people like embrace it and cherish it, and it's like a part of what the city
It's
is.
in like
is, in
Parkdale,
many
which is
ways.
the West End, and super greasy. Like it's not.
Where the Blue Jays used to
It's a
play.
state fair. It's a state fair. There's just no other way to explain it. There's no one that's ever gone to their state fair and said, "I'm going
What a
to a
classy
bougie
affair."
event."
Yeah, it's where the Blue Jays used to play 32 years ago.
Fair enough. I in my mind imagine it as like the marquee event of like the Toronto social calendar.
No,
What are you talking about? It's for all the lows.
he like just sees like the gates that has like the Queen Elizabeth
and
like
they're very nice
entrance
gates.
and thinks that it's like fancy, but that's just the gates to this complex.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of fucking Ferris wheels. It's like when the Bell Lynch
Carney
Fair
games,
comes
yeah.
through town and they have it at like the local mall parking lot of your hometown. It's just a bigger version of
like
that.
it's not even.
You go play the stupid game where you throw the rings onto the thing and win prizes that do not adjust.
I was never good at.
Hold on,
No,
though.
you're not good at anything. We just talked through this.
I wouldn't even call like the local amusement park bougie. Like Wonderland, I wouldn't say is a bougie
No,
place.
it's a
It's an amusement park, and this is like the
lower version of that.
exponentially grosser than that. But again, it has its charms.
It's fun to go to for 3 hours.
The crazy foods. You eat your face off, and I don't know. You might
have a
go on a
pizza
ride
there,
if
don't
you
they?
want to like fall off.
Yeah, you don't want to fall off.
Yes, they have a pizza and a Subway.
Oh, well, that's what
I-
triggers me. That's why he keeps making these jokes, because every year I go, I make fun of the people that go that
And stand in
get,
the line at the Subway.
like Pizza or Subway or Tim Hortons. Like, who the F lines up for that?
Losers like Tim. People who are so afraid to do any. It's the same type of people who refuse to leave their house because they're too scared, yet think that they can survive in the Arctic for 100 days without food.
I leave my house all the time. What are you talking about?
Do you? To do what exactly?
To go for walks.
But
to
why
get out
would
and
you
about.
stay home to eat and not get food and eat 2 sleeves of Oreos? Wasn't your excuse like, I don't want to go outside?
Those days it was so cold that I just couldn't be bothered.
But
with
what
it.
about
That
the
was-
Arctic? That's not cold?
That's my point.
Okay, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to poke holes.
I
But
mean,
it's a different atmosphere when you're out on TV. And plus, the thing is, I'd be on TV. I wouldn't want to make a fool of myself on TV.
this show used to be on TV. You would come on this show.
More people might watch this than something that runs on the History Channel, depending on the time of day it runs.
That is true.
I'm not even trying to put air in your tires. I just have seen back channel numbers on cable in my life, and it's embarrassing how some of these channels exist.
Okay,
Public funding.
I concede.
Yeah, and they get the 1 or 2 channels that are popular that
Yeah.
the parent company owns to advertise on those. You also have to buy a package on the channels nobody watches to keep them alive.
Yeah, Alone actually does decent ratings.
Okay, yeah,
but,
I'm not-
But Oak Island does like legitimate ratings.
Okay,
like, that is a
fine.
very watch show. But yeah, basically
I don't understand it either. I've been to Oak Island. Like, it's not that remote.
You haven't been to Oak Island. We saw Oak Island at a wedding we were at. You've never been.
The
on Oak
resort
Island.
is called the Oak Island Inn.
It's not on Oak Island.
On there, you can see it across the little bay. You're there. It counts. I count it. It's like if you connect through an airport somewhere, you were in that
No,
state. or
that
province.
is-
You connected through that because you were there. If you had committed a crime in that airport, you would have been arrested
That-
and charged in whatever state or province you were in.
If
that
you-
counts.
Claim that you've been somewhere and all you've ever been is the airport to that place. That is just living proof you don't fucking go anywhere.
I've been to Dulles, Fort Worth.
Yeah, I've been to Ottawa 27 times in the
It
airport.
counts.
It doesn't
I'm
count.
sorry. It just simply counts.
Doesn't count.
The flight that you
So
were
I- so
on
what you're
said
saying-
you went to this city.
So what you're saying is I've been to Paris because I was in De Gaulle.
If you stopped at Charles de Gaulle,
I did.
Yes, you did.
For 4 hours
were
before
in-
I went to Morocco.
Tim,
You were in
you
Paris.
seem like the type of guy that's like, it wouldn't count that you went to a city unless you came home with a Hard Rock t-shirt from there.
No, although I would want a Hard Rock T-shirt from Paris. No, like it seems to me, once you're there on the ground, you're in there, you're there. You know, I had to travel once to connect through Tokyo. I've been to Japan.
Oh my god.
Traveled through the Hong Kong.
Oh
airport.
my god.
Get out
Hong
of
Kong.
here.
Damn.
It
That's
counts.
ridiculous.
It's a hard and fast. You don't have to. There's no fudging or gray area of well, it counts sometimes and not others. I take a hard and fast stance. If you were physically in the province or country or territory, you were there.
No,
I
not if you don't
I
leave
want to
the
hear from the
airport.
people on this one. Please tweet at us or leave it in the comment section. When you tell people you've been to places,
Airports are no
do you
man's
bring
land.
up airports? That's what I,
No,
that's what I want. to know.
only if you're talking about airports you've been to.
Yeah, so like Tim is like, Tim, where are some places you've been? Oh, well, I've been to the United States and Japan.
I mean, you're
Oh, what'd you do in Japan? Oh, I was in the airport.
Yeah, you're allowed to say like, yeah, I've been there before, but only in the airport, so not really. Like you can't like pass it off.
If
as,
you
If I were asked,
are
you'd
con-
have to
been to
add on
Japan.
the extra little bit.
Again,
of the
this is
story
you
so
just
that people
trying
know
to
that you
live
haven't
your
actually
truth
been there.
with this.
It's not
You,
my
you
truth.
want
I
to
was
you
in
want to
Japan.
pass off the experience of having been there and claiming you've been there when you really haven't been there.
airports
I
are like
was there. I
international
was
like
in-
waters.
I
It
agree.
doesn't count.
They're
It
all the
doesn't
same.
I was in Narita Airport. I bought food at McDonald's with yen.
Of course you
I
did.
ate it there.
Of course you got
You eat
McDonald's.
one meal in Japan.
And it
it's
was McDonald's.
It was unbelievable how the quarter pounder tasted exact. Anyway, whatever. My point being, I was there. I was in Japan. It counts. It can't be taken away from me because I choose not to like make up out of thin air what constitutes being somewhere or not being there. I have a hard and fast line. If you were physically there, then you were there.
If Jeff,
I think it's
if
hard
someone-
to argue against
if
that.
someone told you that, well, let's just pick a different place that's not Japan. Let's say, I don't know, India. You were going to, I don't know, the Middle East or something, or the Maldives Islands, and you had to stop in Bombay at the airport. And you were just going through. That's where your connection was. That's where they had to refuel. You stopped there for an hour. You went on your way, and someone asked you, like, "How was India?" Like, would you tell them, like, "Oh, I've been to India. Let me tell you about
Oh,
India."
Tim would hard sell.
I know Tim would hard sell. This is what we're trying to get at. Tim would embellish the fact
Yeah.
that he has been to Japan,
No.
when in fact he
I would
was
say I'd
at
only
the
been there for a
airport.
couple. I'd say I was only there for a few hours.
And then the person would say, "Oh, so you've never really been there?"
And I would say, well, what does that mean?
And then people would laugh at you
Are
like they do.
Literally,
No, I'm
Tim,
right
no,
about
This is
stop.
why people laugh at you.
Tim,
I'm right.
you could fly over a country, and by your rule, you were there.
No, you've got to be physically on the ground, right? You've got to.
Why are there new
Why?
distinctions?
Why?
What's the
Because-
difference?
When you're in the air, you're not actually really in a space. Plus, provincial boundaries don't go up to infinity either. Or state boundaries don't go up to infinity. If boots are on the ground, you're there.
Yeah, but you're in.
What if you never get off the plane? It has to make an emergency landing. That happened to me in Omaha,
So-
Nebraska.
People have asked me if I've ever been to Saskatchewan. I say yes, because I had to make an emergency landing in
But
Saskatchewan.
we didn't get off the plane. They just got
didn't get off
a
the plane,
medical
but I was-
situation off the plane,
And
and
Tim is the type of
Exact
person to
same-
tell you that he was there.
This is the exact situation I had in Saskatchewan. I consider myself having been to Saskatchewan because of it. 100% it counts. 100% it counts. Why wouldn't it count?
It doesn't count.
Because some people say, "Oh, well, you haven't."
Doesn't count.
If you haven't been to Taylor Field, you haven't been to Saskatoon. No, or that's Regina, I guess. Well, then no. Sorry, no, I don't feel that way.
It's like
I've been there.
if you get fewer than 3 pumps in on sex, it's not really sex. Hate to tell you.
I'm not willing to make these distinctions that you are. I think that
No,
I'm
I live in
very
reality
hard-
with people who go places, and they're like, "Yeah, I went somewhere and I did this. I've been to this place." Not,
Why would
I
you
was in
bring
the
it up?
airport once. You did just bring it up to us.
I would
wouldn't walk
almost
up to
give
some-
you would maybe get like a little bit of credit if, let's just say, there was like a very famous Japanese-based restaurant that had one
No.
in the airport.
No.
No, I'm just saying,
No.
for conversation,
No.
in the airport, like this world, and that's the restaurant you ate at. I still wouldn't say you've been there, but you can't even bring that to the table. You just had McDonald's.
Well, this is the argument I get in with our friends about Chicago-style pizza. So I've only ever been to the airport, but they have a Chicago-style pizza
Great
place
airport.
in the airport.
Uno's,
And
right?
Whatever, I don't know. I cannot. It's actually right next to the McDonald's.
It's probably
and I-
Uno because it's like a fast food pizza.
Probably.
Yeah, but
I
that's
had
Tim's
this-
jam, fast food pizza.
But it's not like
Yeah,
the
well, I-
real deep
No, of
dish
course
that
not.
people are like waiting.
it's
that's
40
like if you
Chicago
get a
pizza.
Philly cheesesteak at Subway.
Which I have and think is great, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
So,
But my point
like,
was, at that
all
airport-
you have to say is, "Hi, I'm Tim. I have bad taste." If you
No,
just
I
say
have
that,
really-
a lot of this makes more sense.
you just have different taste. My
No,
point.
you
was
have
I had
bad
that
taste.
pizza-
You have objectively
and
bad taste. That's
I
why
think it
people tell
counts.
you have bad taste.
Some people do. Some people. agree.
Most people do. The
My
vast
point is-
majority of people tell you have bad taste.
You're making up rules as you go, and it's all contingent on factors. I'm being very hard and fast and empirical. You're somewhere if you've actually physically been there. I don't know. I think you have all your work cut out for you.
Like I said, I want to hear from the people. So when Tim comes up and tells you all about Japan because he's been in
No,
the
well, see, I
airport
wouldn't do
once,
that. That would be a lie.
Yeah, you've done that before. That's the thing. I've
someone
been
just-
around this.
If somebody said to me,
You
"Have
brought it
been
up the
to
other day
Japan?"
that you were in Hong Kong to our friend who lives across from Hong Kong. You're like, "Well, I've been to Hong Kong." You're in the fucking airport.
But I was there and for quite a while, and I fell asleep.
Maybe you should run a poll.
Like,
No, just if
Yeah,
people
okay.
have listened this far, just tell us what you think on it. Because maybe we're all wrong and Tim is right. Maybe that is the realm we're living. It's 2020,
So,
Jeff. Anything can
Hold
happen.
on though. Are you saying there's two different distinctions? You're allowed to say you've like technically been there, but you haven't visited.
your passport was stamped in Paris when you arrived.
No.
Yes, it had to.
I don't think
because you were going through
no,
customs.
no, it
You have
doesn't.
to
I
go
didn't
through
have to clear
customs before you-
customs. I was in the international terminal. I
Well,
changed
when I went
flight
through
to
Hong Kong, and when I went through Japan, I had to clear customs. And I was just connecting through those two airports.
Yeah, well,
I had to clear customs.
that sucks for you then. I didn't have to
So-
clear anything. I walked through. I went to my other gate, and we went on to Morocco. I believe
Okay,
that's a
well, that has
European,
not been-
but I believe that is a European
probably.
Union thing. Because once
Maybe.
you clear it
Maybe
going
so.
in and you don't leave the European
Fair
Union.
enough. If you were
You're
flying from Toronto to Paris to Marrakesh, then you probably would have had to clear French.
Sure. I flew from Berlin to Paris to Casablanca, actually.
Berlin, the most overrated city in Europe.
Have you been there?
No, I haven't, but it has no character. I know it has no character. It's not Munich.
Munich was actually kind of terrible.
Munich has great character. That's a
Munich
city
has
with history.
Munich actually has no character. You know why? Because it got blown the fuck up. It's all like new.
Yes, because Berlin was really well maintained during the war.
Oh my God, you can see a clear line of demarcation in the city right at the east-west where there's just completely different types of architecture all the way through. As someone who's been there, and I can actually talk to this, Geoff, not someone who once Google mapped it.
Yeah.
Listen, Munich's a part of Bavaria. Bavaria has a rich history. I don't know.
Tim read it in a book. It has to be true. He doesn't need to go there and experience it for himself.
If I wanted to go to Berlin, I could just go to Toronto or London.
I would say that.
What?
I would say that Berlin was like a really nice version of New York and Toronto. Like
There you go. Then I'll just go to New York or Toronto.
Like,
But you don't need to. This was beyond.
really?
Yeah, it's
I'm
so
on Team
clean.
Munich.
It is. But you've never been to either. So shut the fuck up.
I have opinions.
About what? Things you don't know anything about.
Again, I don't have to be there to have
What?
experience of it.
But you're going to compare one city to another and what it's like to go to them. Yet you've never.
If I had to choose where
but
I
you've
travel,
never.
I would-
Sure, you can choose to travel to one of them, and if you never go to the other one, how are you going to know the difference?
There's more historical stuff I want to see and experience, and I don't know.
So you can just say, "I'm Tim. I don't have a fucking clue."
I have a clue.
You
I
don't.
know
You,
what's
you
going on.
don't have a clue. It seems.
My point is, I just think Berlin's a very overrated city.
But you've
I'm
never
not
been
gonna
there.
change my mind. I don't need to be. You just confirmed what I thought,
What?
that it's like Toronto or London
Yeah,
or New York.
it's a
just,
world class. It's a world class city. Munich was nice. It looks like old Toronto. Is basically what it is. It's all buildings from like the 1950s, 1960s. It's fun. It has a cool vibe to it. Like it has a. I mean, Tim, if you want to go like hipster, Munich's your city. It's like the millennial hipster place of Germany.
I like old Toronto, so I probably would like that.
I know when I talk about like old Toronto, I'm talking about like where Paul lives.
Oh, you don't mean like the actual old Toronto?
No, like the part where
Like
the
the
stuff is still
district.
fucking old, not the part where everything is old new, where it's
You're
brand
talking
new.
about, like York, like where
Yeah, he's
they
talking about, like,
fought,
York-
like the English.
Yeah, he's talking about like Yorkdale or Yorkville,
I think-
wherever the one by me is.
Yeah.
But like Munich,
Yorkville.
Yorkville.
Yeah.
The Munich, a lot of like
Yeah, I
the
don't remember
downtown really resembled like what I assume Toronto looked like 30 years ago. Like the buildings are not like there is up to date stuff, but like it was a lot of like older stuff. It had like a real feel to it, where Berlin was just like absolutely brand new.
But listen, if the Berlin travel group wants to send us all to Berlin to check it out, prove
You
me
don't
wrong,
get to come.
I'll go.
You know what? If they
Go.
offer that, you can't come.
I have to come.
You,
I
you,
would be the
you're not
principal
not
reason-
allowed in Germany. Sorry, you're out.
We've got some.
Whatever.
Yeah. So what? So someone's supposed to send us on like a camping trip to be filmed and to Berlin. According to
I
Tim.
want to film that. I want to.
I want to film the archer,
Cust
him
camps.
picking off the moose from 20 yards away. There's a better chance he pierces
20
himself.
yards is not that far, dude.
Well, how far did you say you could throw a javelin before?
Like
100 yards.
Do you have
no,
you ever?
No, that's a football field. I can.
What do
never
they
throw
call art? Like to be an archer.
Yeah,
You have
Like,
a
have you-
quiver.
archery
Have you ever done it?
No.
once.
That you will not do it. The thing will come out limp.
No,
it will.
I forget if it was javelin or shot put, but when he told us how far he could throw one of them, it was like an outrageous number. And then we looked it up, and it was longer than the world record. And he said it was going to be easy.
I don't remember that, but if you say it happened, it happened.
I will confirm that with our friend Tim Butts.
I don't. I'm not disputing. I just don't remember it. I've lost my train. But my point is, if you're out in the wild, like all you have to do is time. So I'd be practicing my bow shots over and over and over.
Where do you think you're getting? You're not fucking Legend of Zelda. You don't have unlimited arrows.
Well, you just go grab the arrow off the target that you make every time.
Do they
and you go
Do they give you a bow and arrow?
You
at the
wouldn't
start?
even be able to pierce the sucker.
That would be the big part.
Like,
about
cause
it, too.
you would like maybe if you got it there, like okay, would like hit him and like what just hit me? Like a branch fell on me. You wouldn't be able to get it out unless you had one of these like really high end bows that you probably just don't even need to like flick back. You just like hit a button.
like a crossbow. Is what you
Yeah,
mean.
no, they don't have one of those. It's one of those old homemade dealy looking ones.
You're done.
I think I could figure it out.
You really seem to think a lot of things. Not well thought, like not through, but you think a lot.
He's
of
like the
things.
world's. He's the biggest armchair quarterback of like life that I know.
The only like when I think like when I see something Tim could be good at on TV, although he probably wouldn't be good at it. Remember that South Park episode where they were playing the guy in World of Warcraft and he was really good? That could be Tim, I think. I think Tim could really excel at World of Warcraft if he put his
I'm
mind
not-
to
I
it.
mean-
I assume he's bad at it, but if he really put his time into it,
No,
that
I
seems
only
right up
play
your alley.
sports. I only play sports video games. I don't go in for these other ones.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I guess the only non-sports one I ever played that was ever really good at was GoldenEye. That was it.
I have such. But you've never owned a 64. How are you good at GoldenEye?
No, I didn't. But I used to go over to a friend's
Oh,
house.
yeah,
all
I'm
the
sure
time.
you're fucking great at
All the
GoldenEye,
time.
then. I'm sure.
I was really good.
Comparing to how good you are at other video games, I have my doubts you were any good at GoldenEye, considering you didn't own an N64.
No, I didn't. I went over to a friend's place who did own one.
Yeah, so you played it for what, like 20 minutes a week? You're good though.
Oh, I played it more than that. Anyway, I thought I was pretty good at it.
Again, you think a lot of things, just not through.
Well, what I think is all I have to contribute.
So what you're saying is that you live your truth and not the factual truth.
I didn't say that.
That is what you're saying. You're at least implying that.
No, I'm not.
I think you
We
are.
got off the rails here about these millennial latte cup avocado.
Yeah,
shells.
because like one person had it and took a picture
No,
of it.
it just
and
shows the
and all
free-
you've said is that everyone does it. Yet you've never
seen
met
it.
any
Not
person who
everyone.
does it.
Even
Not
in this
everyone, but
bougie
it's-
city of Toronto, I haven't seen it like advertised as a thing.
Yeah, I bet if you look close enough, you'd find it.
Bet you I wouldn't. Anyway, that will do it on Cust Corner. I want to thank Tim. I want to thank Geoff. Thank Paul behind the camera. Hit the description of this episode, and you will find all of the Cust Corner links from over the past 4 years. Remember to like the episode and tell us whatever it was that I asked about going to a place. Tim's going to tell you all about Hong Kong. He was in the airport once. And leave a 5-star rating for the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!